All right, so this is my Mystery Tackle Box Pro. What a Mystery Tackle Box Pro is. For $25 a month, they ship you a box full of tackle that's worth about $40, $45. And what I do is I take it out on my boat and I show you what's in the box, and then I go and I try to teach you as much as I can about a few of the baits that are in the box. So that's what we're gonna do today. Let's start off with opening the box. So, as you can see, it comes pretty dang full of tackle. And it usually has some type of a theme, or sometimes it has a theme, sometimes it doesn't. But this time, it looks like I might have a few little baits to do finesse fishing with, and a swim jig and stuff like that. So let's go through the baits real quick, kind of show you what they are. Somewhere in this box is a list of what's in it. Let's see, not that one. There we go. You got this little card in here, and on the back it shows you what's in it and how much it's worth. And to find more information about these baits, you can look online, look on their website, and it usually tells you what it is. So the first one is a Lucky John Via Cara for $9.99. Let's see if I can find that. It's a little lipless crankbait, which is perfect for this time of the year, pre-spawn. Bass are moving up, getting ready to spawn. It's a perfect little bait for that. Little lipless crankbait. Number two is a Venom Mad Tom. Okay, so it's a little spider crawfish looking thing with a Ned rig head, or a little Ned head on there. So a little bit of finesse stuff. Biospawn Exo Stick. And in the new Fighter Shad, which is a kind of a clear color. We won't be using those today because the water's really, really muddy, and that's a clear watercolor, but it's an absolute amazing color for smallmouth or for any type of a clear water. A few months, this lake will be pretty clear. And it's just like a Cinco or some type of a stick bait, so it's pretty cool. Power spinners, Carl's Stash power spinners. Little spinners, and I'll show you what we do with those in an Exo Stick. It's pretty cool. And Sticky's Wacky Drop Shot Hook. Okay, there's drop shot. So you got a pack of drop shot hooks that'll go with, you know, wacky rigging and putting a spinner bait on or a little spinner on the Exo Sticks. Berkley Cutter 110, which is a jerk bait. Pretty cool. Water's just a little too warm for that here. I'm still going to show you guys how to use it though. Pretty cool. Stan Sloan's Zorro Bait swim jig. I'm beginning to love a swim jig. And a Smart Baits Goby. It's one of those baits that change color with the water temperature. Pretty cool little deal. All right, so I'm gonna pick two or three of these baits, and I'm gonna tie them on rods, and I'm gonna show you guys how to use them. All right, so the first bait we're going to talk about today is going to be the lipless crankbait, the Vicara 62. It's a little 1/4 ounce size. It feels like it's about a 1/4 ounce. It's pretty lightweight, which is good. I mean, this time of the year, fish that are pulling up and staging to spawn or moving back into the creeks to spawn, they're going to hit a lipless crankbait. It's one of my favorite baits to throw this time of the year. And I throw it on a 7-foot to 7'3" medium fast action rod. 15-pound test fluorocarbon, and a kind of a 7:3 to 1 gear ratio reel. I used to like an 8:3 to 1, but I found out that I get more bites. The way I fish it, I get more bites with a 7:3 to 1 than I do the 8:1 to 1. And can't explain. I just know that that's what happens. So, but the key to fishing this time of the year, fishing with a lipless crankbait, is it's not just a cast out and retrieve type of a deal. You don't just cast it out and in one steady speed you retrieve it. What I always like to start with is an erratic retrieve. There's three different types that I try. And the first one is one where I'm winding it in. Let me turn the camera down just a hair so you guys can see it. So I cast it out, and I'm working these 45-degree banks. Of course, this one isn't, but that one up there is, but working 45-degree banks. And the way I'm reeling it, it's a 3 or 4 turns and a stop. And when I stop, I kind of point my rod towards the bait just a little bit, and I want it to move really fast and then drop, and move really fast and drop. and it'll go by a fish, it'll get the fish's attention, the fish will start following it, and when it drops, the fish eats it. A lot of times, lots and lots of times, they take it really deep and you don't lose the fish. The second way I fish it is a yo-yo. So I'll let it sink down to the bottom, and I just pop it up off the bottom, and I let it sink back down, and I'm just kind of jerking it up, letting it fall back down. Now, some lipless crankbaits do this better than others, and the way you can tell is when you drop it in the water right next to the boat, you want the bait to fall pretty much horizontal. You don't want it to go nose down. If it dives nose down, like I think a rattle trap does that, and there's a couple others that do it too, it will twist up on that slack line as it's going down, and a lot of times you'll get your line tangled up into your treble hooks. So look for the ones, and this one does it. This one falls actually just a little nose down, which is no big deal, but you want it to fall as horizontal as you can, and that just prevents it from getting twisted up and caught up in your line. And those are always the best ones to yo-yo. But basically you're just throwing it out, and this works really good when you're working it down a steep bank. Say I'm not parallel on the bank, but I'm coming from deep water, throwing it up in a shallow water and bringing it back to the boat. I let it sink down to the bottom, and it's not really a pop. You're just kind of pulling it off the water, off the bottom, and you're letting it settle back down. And watch your line, because they're going to hit on that fall every single time. Except like last week, I snagged about a 30-pound black drum on the upswing. I caught him with the treble hooks in the tail. Didn't get him to the boat, but got to see him. Giant drum, freshwater drum, but it was quite the fight. But yeah, that's a really good way of fishing it. Now the other one, this is as close as I will get to just a steady retrieve. It's hard to show you guys, but I'm actually speeding up and I'm slowing down just a little bit. Speed up, and I'm going to exaggerate just a hair just so you guys can see it. Speeding up and slowing down. And when they're really active, they freaking crush it. But that's 3 ways to fish a lipless crankbait in the spring. And it looks like this bait right here does all 3 of them very, very well. So the next one is the Berkley jerkbait. I know it's not a pretty jerkbait. It doesn't have a beautiful paint job, but I'm telling you, just about any jerkbait will catch fish. This one, if it suspends, which it looks like it does pretty good, it floats up just a little bit in this little warmer water. But jerkbaits in the springtime work really, really good when the water's in the 40s. We're in the high 50s today, and as the water temperature rises, they don't suspend quite as good. You kind of have to adjust them to get them to suspend, and that's typical of a jerkbait. But the tackle or the equipment I'm using to fish it is I'm using a 7-foot medium moderate rod, a 6:6 to 1 gear ratio reel, 40-pound braided line to a 12, no, I think that's a 15, yep. A 15-pound or a 12-pound leader, fluorocarbon, tied together with a FG knot. And it's just one of those things that in the springtime, especially when it's really, really cold and it's just starting to warm up, jerkbaits really, really shine. And they're not hard to fish, but it's one of those baits where you just have to take them out on the water, and you have to only take jerkbaits and fish them during those conditions until you get confidence in them. I had to do it. I know a lot of other guys that had to do it, but the guys who are great jerkbait fishermen really do excel at winning tournaments when the conditions are tough, because jerkbaits are really good in tough conditions. So basically what you do, pretty simple. You go find these steep banks here in the pre-spawn. And the reason I say these steep banks, these 45-degree banks, they're called transition banks. And you go along these steep banks until you find a change, or you work the banks until you find a change in the bottom composition. You can tell by looking at the bank whether there's a change or not, where it goes from like heavy, big rock to little rock, or rock to sand, or just a change in something. And that's kind of a holding point for the fish as they move back in the creeks. But I'm gonna work the whole bank up with a jerkbait, but when I get to those spots, I'm really gonna focus on them. And you cast the bait out, you crank it down a few times to get it down to depth. This one dives about 5 to 6 feet deep. And then it's a pop, pop, and a pause. Pop, pop, pause. And I found that the colder the water, low 40s, high 30s, you really don't want to pop it that much. It's more of a tap, tap. You just tap, tap, and pause. And you just want it to jerk a little bit and pause. And if you have a jerk bait that sits nose down just a little bit and sinks really, really, really slowly, I mean about that slow, it's usually a freaking dynamite jerk bait this time of the year. But it's a jerk, jerk, pause, and it just sits there. The bass come up from underneath it, and they look at it, and if it's sinking just a little bit, it'll sink right down on top of them, and they'll kill it. So the one thing is if I have one that dives 6 to 7 to 8 feet, it's okay to fish over top of 14, 15 feet of water if it's clear water and the bass are down that deep, because they will definitely come up and hit it. And I still have not adjusted this reel for this new bait, and I just got a backlash in my braid, but we'll fix that in a second. But again, you just crank it up, and you keep track of how long you pause. Typical, it's a pop, pop, pause for 3 seconds, pop, pop, pause for 3 seconds, pop, pop, pause for, I'll pause it as long as 8 seconds if I'm not getting bite at 3 seconds. But I don't know what it is about cold water. Those bass really do react to something that's jerking and then just kind of sitting there for a while, and then they come up, look at it, you jerk at it, and they get really excited, but they're still fairly lethargic, and they come and they swim towards it again and they stare at it. And it sometimes takes a while for those bass to get up and bite them, and sometimes you got to make multiple casts at the same spot to turn those bass on and bring them up from that deeper water, and they'll bite. But that's the biggest thing. And when they bite, you just tighten in on them. When you feel that bite, you'll feel it when the line is slack. And that's why I like using braided line, is because it's a lot more sensitive. I make sure I have about a 6 to 8 foot leader of fluorocarbon, and I just use that braided line to the best, for what it's the best for, and that's being able to feel everything. And they'll bite, and you'll feel that bite even through that slack braided line, and you just pull back on them and set the hook. You don't have to jerk it hard, you just pull and set the hook. And make sure you fight them really, really easy, because a lot of times you'll have them foul hooked outside the mouth with all those treble hooks. And just be really, really careful and easy for them. Work them real slow and careful to the boat, and net them and get them in the boat. So that's Jerkbait 101. All right, and the next one is the Venom Baits little Ned rig thing. I don't know what they call it, but it's a little creature bait. This one is smoke and purple, and it's got a little Ned head on it. So let's talk about how to fish a Ned head. I've got this on a 7'3" medium. You can use a medium light or medium fast action rod, and this is a medium fast. I've got 20-pound test braid to a 10-pound test fluorocarbon leader tied on with an FG knot. And a Ned rig is one of those things that I never ever get on the boat without at least having what I need in the boat for a Ned rig, because it can save the day if you're not catching fish. But you just cast it out, and this one, because it's got so much wind resistance because of all those little tentacles, it doesn't cast very far, but it's okay. You let it sink down to the bottom, and you let it sit on the bottom. And typically a Ned head, when it lands on the bottom, it'll land with those claws and everything. With this type of bait, land with those claws up. And it's just a hop bait. You just hop it up, let it fall back down, and then hop it up and let it fall back down. And that's all it is just, you're just hopping it. Another way to fish it is to slow roll it. And I like to use a little bit heavier head than this one has, but you cast it out and let it sink to the bottom. And then watch how slow I'm reeling with this reel. I'm holding my rod tip up high or down. You can hold it down low too if you want it to swim a little bit lower, but I'm trying to keep it about that far off the bottom. And when I get it down there, I just literally, this is how slow I'm reeling it. Painfully slow. Make you want to eat a sandwich slow. Wish you had drank your coffee in the morning slow. I mean, grandma, grandpa driving down the road slow. Sorry, grandma. That's it. And those are the two ways I like to fish it. I don't typically fish it like a shaky head where you let it sit on the bottom and shake it, although that does work. I found that just hopping it around, let it hop and sit on the bottom and not move it, and let it hop, sit on the bottom, not move it 3-4 seconds. Keep doing that, and you'll get a lot more bites that way. So that's a Ned Rig 101. I've got a really good video on all the details of a Ned rig. I'll put that link right up here, and I'll link anything else, any other videos that I have done that give you more details about these baits. I'll link them right up here. I've got a coupon code for Mystery Tackle Box. I'll put it down at the bottom if you guys are interested in joining, to give you some money off of your first box. And yeah, that's the MTB school for today. And just want to let you know this will be my last MTB box, or my last MTB video. So time for a change. I'm making several changes right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed the many years that I worked with Mystery Tackle Box and started and did these videos. They have absolutely been a blast. I owe a lot to Mystery Tackle Box. They're the reason why I was able to do this full time, and I really, really appreciate everything they've done for me. It's just time for a change. So like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see ya.